Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. In our last video, we covered loops. And in this video, we're gonna cover something very important in any programming language, which is a function. And we'll not just only talk about function syntax, we'll also make sure that you understand what goes in a function, what comes out of a function, and when you see a function, you should be able to predict what is the outcome of the function. Okay, so in simple terms, what is a function? A function is like a reliable machine or recipe. You put something in as an input, it does a specific job like processing, and something comes out which is the output, always giving the same result for same input. If the input is same, the function should be giving the same output, ensuring a single predictable outcome. So it's just like our body. We eat, it processes and it comes out. So it's the same thing. That's our body's function. A function is similar. Now in Python, how do we write basic functions? We'll see that. So this is the basic syntax. We write def. Now def is a Python way of telling that remember this as a function. Remember this as a function name, whatever is there inside as an input, and we will give an output. Now whatever we do inside a function is our logic. Okay. So right now I'm writing a simple function whose name is greet. So this is function name, and this is called parameter. Now what is a parameter? It's the input. You can see here parameter is coming up. So it's an input that Python takes, or Python's function take. We talked about here in what is input. So we can play with these inside the function. Now we are just printing the name, and to call the function we just need to use the function name and pass the required parameter. Now a name here, we are not specifying what could be the here we are not specifying what could be the data type of name. So if we are not specifying, we can give anything here. Instead of Alice, we can give a number, integer, float, anything. But if you are specifying, then you have to give that particular data type. First, let's see how this works. I'll select this and run. So you can see hello Alice is printed right now. I'll remove this and I'll bring this into here. Okay, so that we can see properly. So you can see hello Alice is printed. Now if I remove this, since I have not given a proper data type here, if I remove this and give 1 here, and if I run this again, sorry, run this again, you can see hello 1 is printed. In greet we are passing 1 and hello 1 is printed. Hello 1 is printed. Similarly, we can return the values, functions with return value. We can return the value from a function. As we know, a function takes input, processes, and gives some output. So here, this print is nothing but a processing kind of thing. It's not actual output that we are giving, but our actual output could be a return statement. Okay, so here I have an example where I have taken a add function, and there are two parameters that I'm taking. These are called parameters, remember, and whenever we are calling the function and passing values, these are called arguments. These are actual values, and these are the values that take up these arguments, which are called parameters. All right. So when we take two numbers, we are directly returning add. So we can first add and then return, no worries, and or else we can directly return while adding. So we are returning while adding. Then you can see here add 5 comma 3. A will take 5 and B will take 3 respectively. So 5 plus 3 will be 8, and in result 8 should be printed. So you can see sum is 8, sum is to 8 is printed. Now what if I don't have a return statement here? I don't have a return statement. I give sum is equals to, or I give sum is equals to A plus B, and I print that inside the inside the function, and I don't return anything. But here I'm expecting in result, right? It will not give any error. It will not give any error, but it will give none. See, when I'm printing this first print, 8 is printed. The second print, when I'm printing sum is to result, this is coming none because we're not returning anything. When we're not returning anything, the function by default returns none value. Okay. and that is being stored in result. If you return something, suppose here we return sum, but there is nothing to hold this value here. It will return, but there's nothing to hold. So that time it will return will throw the sum, but there's nothing to catch. So to catch we need a variable. That's why we give result equals to, so whatever is thrown by this and will be caught by result. Hope you understood. If you have any doubts, please let me know in the comments. Now let's come into default parameters. Sometimes what happens is, if no value is passed for some argument, in some argument we might prefer a default value. Suppose a person came, they wanna enter their name and age. My name is this and I'm this much year old. By chance, if they forget to put age in parameter, that time their default age will be taken, which will be 25. So you can give any value here, any kind of value can be given. So these are called default parameters, where if nothing is provided, then function takes the default parameters. So if we pass here, you can see introduce Bob. So at first instance, when we are calling introduce, we are sending only first argument, only one argument, but here we are expecting two. Since Bob is only sent, it will take up by the name and age is not given, so 25 will be printed by default. But for the second time, we are passing Charlie and 30. Remember, whenever something is passed in a default argument, it will override that and whatever is passed will be taken. Okay, so here 20, my name is Bob and 25 will be printed. My name is Charlie and 30 should be printed. Let's see. Here you can see my name is Bob and I'm 25 years old. My name is Charlie and I'm 30 years old is printed accordingly. I hope you understood this. And also there is a very important thing. You cannot write default argument before a default parameter before a normal parameter. So you will get this error. No, non-default argument follows default argument. So you should always write default argument at the end of the parameter list. Hope you understood this concept. Now we can also have functions with multiple return values. That means we can return multiple values at a time. So here we have get coordinates function, which where we are simply assigning x equals to 10 and y equals to 20, and we are returning both of them. And here we are catching both of them from get, because it's return, it will throw. So we should have some variable to catch those values, right? So we are having xy here to catch these variables. If we run this, you can see x and y will have 10 and 20 respectively. Now, what if you don't give two values? You are only catching using one value, but there are two arguments. We are sending two values, but we are only catching one value. What do you think will happen? So here will give. So what do you think will happen? So what happens is, whenever there is only one thing coming up, Python will pack these two values in a single tuple. In a single tuple, it packs these two values and then assigns it to x. So x is nothing but a tuple now, which holds two value, which is 10 and 20. So if I run this, you can see 10 and 20 are being printed here, which are a tuple. Okay. But if we give x comma y, if we give x comma y, so 10 and 20 will be divided among x and y, and they will be printed accordingly. X comma y. So if I run this, you can see 10 and 20 are printed. Moving on, we can also pass variable length arguments. That means you don't know how many argument you are gonna pass in for that particular instance. For that, we have something called star args, the stars and args. So whenever you give this kind of argument, it this kind of star args. So whenever you give this kind of parameters, it expects variable length. It will not tell I want one or two. It can take any amount of parameters inside that. But whenever we are checking type of it, like how does it packs it? Whenever you are passing, suppose I'm passing like this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now you will see the type of this args will be a tuple. So it will pack everything inside one single variable as a tuple, just like how it did when we used only one variable here. Right, when we were passing two variables but we were receiving in only one variable, that time what happened is that these two values were wrapped in tuple. So similarly, when you are passing many variables as an argument and you are expecting a variable length argument inside this parameter, we see this will be a tuple, you can see here as well. Okay, and we know from our previous video that in list or tuples we can iterate. We have seen this in loops video. So if we run this, we can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is printed and a tuple is printed. So if you have variable length, now here if I give 6 as well, this will also work. If I give only 1, if I give only 1, also works. So variable number of arguments. And this mostly takes tuple, lists, etc. Now, if you want to give dictionary kind of values that have keyword arguments means you have a variable also holds a value. You have a variable which also holds a value. So this is like a dictionary's structure. So these can be passed using quags or KW args. KW args are nothing but keywords arguments, same like args, but here we use two asterisks so that it defines it's a quags. Okay, so we pass dictionary kind of values here. So if I run this, and in dictionary kind of values, if you want to iterate in for loop, in my previous video I forgot to include here, we can see this. In order to iterate values inside quags, we can use something called as dot items. So dot item will return two things, key and value. Key is nothing but this, from which we can access the value. Key is nothing but the keyword from which we can access the value. So for key comma value in items, print key comma value. Okay, otherwise if you just want key, you can write here keyword kworks dot keys or keywords dot values. Okay, in a similar way. So I hope you understood these kworks arguments. Now lastly, we are going to talk about scope and global variables. Now whenever we are inside a function, we can define our own variables inside the function, but a scope is something which tells how much or how long does that variable exist, how far does that variable exist. Now a scope of variable inside a function exists only inside that function. So you can see this local variable is assigned inside the function and the global variable is outside the function. That means global variable will be visible outside and also inside the function. But this local variable will only be visible inside the function. Outside it will not be visible. So if I run this, you can see right now we can say I'm local, I'm global getting printed. But if I wanna print the local variable outside of the function, you'll see an error coming. You can see name local variable is not defined. Did you mean global variable? That means this local var is not defined outside the function. So any variable inside the defined inside the function will die inside that function and will not come out and will not be able to access that function outside of the this particular function. So you have to remember it whenever you want some variables that can work inside and outside of the function. You have to declare them globally. There is also a global keyword. I'm not sure if I should tell you this or in this video or not. So there is a global keyword uh, which makes there is actually a global keyword which makes local variable also global. So if I give here global, so when I give global variable like this, I cannot assign it right there, and local var will be equal to I am local. Okay, I can write like this. Now if I print outside local var, it does not throw error. Getting? So if you actually want inside a function, you want some global variable that will be that will be visible outside the function also, in outside the function scope also, and does not die inside that function, you can use this global keyword to make that local variable as global. But remember, whenever you are making the variable global, you can't assign it directly in that particular line, you have to assign it separately. I hope you got the idea of how function works, how parameters, what are arguments, return statements, how to receive returned value, and how can we return 2 to 3 values, kvogs, args, everything, and scope as well. Thank you for watching. Hope we meet in the next video. Thank you.